Hey everybody, welcome to Drive Through Review 609. Today we're going to take a look at mini rails, and this is from Moedius Games, and this is a very quick 3 to 5 player train game. It's a very abstract game. I don't want to get too much into the mechanics in my intro, but let's jump into how the game mechanics actually work, and then I'll come back and tell you what I think about it on the other side. Okay, here you can see just about everything that you get in the game. Here you have the main board, and this is all sort of configurable, and you have these different frame pieces here that you can arrange randomly, and then these little tiles here, they're double-sided. You just flip them to a random side and put them out, and this is representing various cities and mountains and forests and things. And you can see here you have tokens in each of these different kind of company colors. Now I've set up for a 4 and 5 player game, 5 player game in this case, and in that case you're just going to have one token matching that color in the spot. Now if you're playing 3 players, you'd have 3 tokens of each colors, kind of giving you kind of a head start in terms of where the company is and how far they've spread out here. Now you can see a couple of different sort of terrain features. We've got plains here, they've all got 1 pip. You've got some of these bad areas here with these red pips. You got the central city here with 5 pips. This is a very good spot to move that particular company to. So these different companies and sort of rail systems are going to be sort of expanding, driven by the players and how they take their actions. Now here is the main action board, and the turn order is indicated by these different pawns here. So you kind of randomly choose who's going to be first. So in this case it's orange, and they kind of working clockwise around the table. You've got orange, green, brown, black, and pink, and then you do reverse that order. So it'll go all the way back. So orange will be first and last, and pink will get 2 turns in a row in the middle. And then what players are going to do is they're going to take actions in this player order. Now every round you're going to seed this little board here with tokens out of this bag here. And so you put those out, and then so orange is going to take an action. They're going to pick one of these tokens. So they're going to be either buying or expanding in the company they choose. So maybe they want to do blue here like that. So they'll choose that, and then they're going to get one of 2 possible actions they can do with the blue company. And then green will go, and then brown, and they can choose wherever they want to go. And then that is going to dictate the turn order for the next round. So whatever order they end up in, that's going to be the turn order for the next round, and then you're going to seed more of these discs up top here. Now at the end of the round, there is going to be always 1 disc left over. So let's say in this case it was white. So that disc will move down here, and this is going to basically make that company safe. They're going to quote unquote have paid their taxes, is what the rules say. And so this is also a round marker. So we'll play another round, moving our pawns up to the top, grabbing discs off of that, and then there'll be 1 left over from that, and that'll maybe be blue. And you go all the way down and play 6 actions. So every round, everybody's going to get 2 actions, 1 with each of their pawns, and then you're going to do 6 rounds. So there's only 12 actions that you get through the entire course of the game. Now, what might you say, am I going to do with this? You get 2 options when you take your action. And so here's an example of the player board. So there's 2 things you can do with this blue disc. The very simplest one is to buy it. So you take and remove the stock certificate off your board, and then you just simply place that disc on the 0 marker here. You can see there's a positive side of the track as well as a negative. That means on my second action, I have to do something, build something I should say, with the disc that I take. So you can only do 1 purchase and 1 build every round. You can't do 2 builds or 2 purchases. So maybe the next action I take, instead of grabbing blue, I grabbed this skin color, or this wood color, and I'm going to do a build with that. So when you build with it, you're going to place this disc anywhere adjacent to an existing disc of that color. And there can't also be another disc there. There can only be 1 disc in each spot. So maybe I'll put it here. Now you can see we have these white pips here and these red pips. Now if you put it on white, then everybody that has a disc on their board, so let's just put a little board out here as an example, and let's say I had actually purchased this one in the previous round. In this case I put it on a 2 white, so we're going to go up 2 spots, 1, 2. If I had multiple of these discs on the board, maybe it was a couple turns later, and I put it on the 2 white, this would go up 2, boom boom, and then this one would go up 2. Everybody's going to do that. So wherever you put this disc out is going to affect everybody that's currently invested in that company. Now if I put it on red, it's going to go down that much, so you can really take a stock. So you're going to build these out, and you can kind of get a sense for how the real estate sort of shakes itself out. There's a nice little red patch here and down here right around the city, so it could be kind of interesting to try to maneuver to this big 5 pip spot. And so you're going to do that. You're going to do 6 rounds. Everybody again gets 1 buy and 1 build action. And then you're going to take a look at which stocks have been marked safe. So let's see, this is just an example there. So you've got white, yellow, and blue are all represented on here. It doesn't really matter if there's multiple of the same color. What matters is if it's on there or if it's not. So for example here, the colors that are not on there are gray, red, and this beige color. And everybody's going to take a look at their board and see what stocks are represented up here or if they're not, and they're going to score those either positively or negatively. So let's take a look at an example board of somebody might have. So let's take a look at this player's board, and maybe this is an example of what they'll have at the end of the game. Now for our purposes, white, yellow, and blue have all been marked. They've all had one disc left over at the end of the round that's moved down. That company's been taxed, that company is safe. So white, blue, and yellow. So that means yellow is going to score and blue is going to score. Now, if it's going to score, if it's been marked safe, it's been positive, you're going to remove that. So this is not going to penalize you, but it is going to help you. Now, in this case, beige and red have not been marked safe. So the positives of the ones that have not been marked are going to go away, and the negatives are going to stick around. So in this case, this player has 6 minus 3 points, so they'll have 3 points at the end of the game. And it is possible, the rules say that you could win with having the least negative points. So it might look like during the game, you know, I've got all of these beiges up here, and maybe I've got 12 points of beige, but if it's not marked, if nobody ever left a beige stock available, then these aren't going to score you anything and they're worthless. Whereas if you had one down here in the same way, they could also hurt you. So you need to kind of play around with and try to plan for which of the companies are going to be marked as safe and which are actually going to score for you based on which ones are left at the end of each round. Okay, so that is mini rails. This game is deathly brutal, but I like it for that. It's very, very quick and simple. Takes a half hour, 45 minutes, definitely on the lower end of that when you play with less players. Very discreet, minimal amount of actions. It's called mini rails. It's really minimal rails. You can either buy a stock or you can build in a company. That's it. You can only do those once each round. You can't build or buy or anything like that. But what you get into is you're going to be kind of at the whims of whatever happens to be available and get taxed at the end of that round. Whatever's left, whatever's not chosen, which is very, very odd on first blush. And it's very, very interesting because you're forced to actually buy something and build something. You have to do something. So a lot of times those are going to kind of diminish as the course of the round goes along. So you might think, well, I want to be first in turnover a lot. Yes, because you get some good options, and maybe in the end of the round, or end of the game, excuse me, it's a little bit more important. But it's also interesting to go a little bit later in the round because then you can kind of be a little bit more reactive. You can see, okay, well, there's no way that, it's either going to be beige or blue that's left over. So I know that going in because that's all that's left, or that kind of thing. And you can see kind of how that real estate is developing and what's been already kind of marked, and you go, wow, there's a lot of red spaces around white. So I got to be very careful of that because it's going to be very easy to tank that. And white hasn't been marked safe yet. So very, very super dead simple, but a lot of stuff to keep in mind, a lot of sort of partnership stuff that can happen. So if you and Billy are both in the blue, you both have an incentive to kind of build and keep that up, but you don't want to help each other too much because maybe Billy's got 2 blues that they've bought and you've only got the 1. So you're like, I don't know. I'm not helping myself, but I'm helping Billy way more because they're getting, instead of 2 points by going up twice, since they have 2, they're getting 4 total. So there's a lot of interesting kind of dynamics like that. So I think if you're really into your very kind of mean, curmudgeonly type of train game, this is going to be like the perfect filler for that type of thing. Now, if you're not into that, I would say still give this one a try, because if you don't like it, because it is going to be pretty brutal and mean, it's going to be over quickly. But I would recommend it. It just kind of makes your brain work in a different way, where instead of like trying to just score a bunch of points, like triggering an engine building or a point salad kind of attitude, which I love, but it kind of makes your brain work in a different way, where you're just trying to play very defensively, very cautiously, conservative in a lot of ways, trying to really protect yourself. And you really need to get a good sense of the lay of the land after you deal out that board to see, okay, which of these companies now is going to be running into trouble right away and really everybody's going to bail on. I kind of want to stay away from that. And the other interesting kind of thing is you're going to get that information at the beginning of the game, but the rest of the information, how you deal with these chips out of the bag, that's going to be a very much an evolving thing, but you can use it to kind of inform your decisions. Because let's say a lot of blue discs come out. In the bag, I should say, is there's a fixed amount of discs based on number of players and all that. But a lot of blue discs come out. You know there's not going to be very many that come out at the end of the game, and you can sit there and count, because I think, let's say there's 12 of each color that are in there, so you can count who's got what on their board and what's over there on the mark space and how many are up there now. So like, okay, there's only gonna be 2 more blues coming out. You can kind of work that into kind of your calculations. It's a little bit of just like probability stuff, like, okay, yeah, good chance I'm gonna get tanked on this or not, So that's a very, very interesting thing, and it's a lot of crunchiness kind of mashed into that 30 or 40 minutes or so. So I definitely recommend Mini Rails. Take a look at it. Very interesting dynamic game. Brutal, quick, mean. You're in, you're out. It's fun. Thanks.